Hello guys and welcome to the channel. This is WvW. In today's video we are finally talking about Ranger Spear. And in my opinion it is probably the worst spear that came with Janthir Wilds, or you can say at least debatable. However, this is not the beta anymore, so we'll talk freely on the good, the bad, its different roles, what this spear can offer, what it lacks, like general idea and everything, starting from the skills to everything, that just to be a completely full analysis. So I already made a video after the beta that I called it why so. It's why you would play Spear, because it didn't offer anything that's kind of special or left anything for Ranger, comparing to other weapons that already offer that or builds that had it in general. Yes, it offered a unique form of stealth or a new one, but it already contradicted with the reveal mechanic. Like a lot of things doesn't really work well with this, and it doesn't offer much, and we will get into analyzing every part of it. So let's start with the skills themselves. The auto attack is a new auto attack system, which is if you're melee you will be able to hit melee hits, and if you're range you will actually start casting range hits like that. If I have a target, I'll start through the spear itself. And skill 2, it will actually hit in a cone like that, and if you have a stealth or this effect you will be able to use it and will follow up with a wolf, doubling the damage in PvE and only 50% increased in competitive modes. Skill 3 is throw spear, and if you are from stealth you will actually have it increased range by 1200 instead of 900. You will have it increase the damage with no condition, not against immobilized or disabled. It will just have the increased damage flat, and both of them will do the cripple, and now it pierces and it's unblockable and have a wider projectile shape. Skill 4 is this short leap that actually will dodge, and if you are stealthed you will increase the damage and will do 3 seconds of this. And it's a combo finisher leap. It's actually move you 600, so it's quite fairly short. And skill 5, it's what gives you the effect of Hunter's Prowess to access the change to spear skills from skill 2 until skill 5, even if you are revealed. And itself it changed to another skill that have a different cooldown, which actually is Spider's Web. You will immobilize, do some good damage on the first hit, and it will both cripple for duration of 4 seconds and give your bit super speed. It's have a cooldown that's separate from the skill itself. Lastly, if you are an untamed, you will have this cone shaped for 600 radius that will do some decent damage and will apply a delayed hit for poison. Also, it's worth notice that if you have Hunter's Prowess, you will access the change to those skills. If you use this skill, it will give you stealth, you and your bit, and will give you swiftness, and will access those skills, even if you are revealed. So I will use it like that, and now I have a reveal on me, and I can use it again, and I will get the effect even if I didn't get stealth. Other stealth sources will give you access to those skills, but will work normally, and if you're revealed, you lose it, everything. So you either need stealth to access this weapon, other state, or you need Hunter's Prowess effect. So this bit, for example, can stealth me and himself, so I will access it normally. But if I am to be revealed, I will immediately lose the access, as you can see. So there's 2 ways to access a change for weapon, either Hunter Prowess or any normal stealth, but the stealth will work normally. You have to have the stealth effect itself on you or the Hunter's Prowess on you. So this is a simple explanation of the weapon. Now let's talk about some things for the weapon itself. So skill 4 no longer has the bugs that we talked about in the beta, when sometimes it doesn't land damage at all. However, how it applies the damage, it will damage the enemy either at the end, like the field itself, or even the line before you reach the field. All that will take damage. So the enemy here, I use it, I do damage, completely normal. I put it even behind the enemy, but I will pass through them, I do damage when I land. However, if I don't even pass through them, like I'm next to him like that, I will not do damage. So this is how it works, somehow. However, there is some other problems that still exist. For example, if you are stealthed, skill 3 will not turn you to the target and hit it. So I'm stealthed right now, I can press it as much as I want, and I will not, character will not turn and hit the target. And this is a serious problem that we talk about, especially in competitive modes. Any projectile in this game would work like this normally. If you stand, if you have a pose, like you stop walking forward or backward or whatever, and you trigger any attack that's projectile, your character is supposed to turn toward the enemy that you already targeted, which work very well if your enemy try to counter this, especially in competitive, by moving around you in melee form or something, so your character will start turning towards them. However, you either face the enemy or this skill will not cast whatsoever. And as you can see, I can do the same and cast completely normally my auto attack because it's a range attack. Once I stealth and I use it, I will turn normally. However, this problem still persists from the beta in skill 3. Now, there is problems by design, not really bugs, that Arianet kept that I don't like, which how much reveal that exists with this weapon. That the skills themselves meant to reveal you. You don't show the animation around you so people can tell where you are in a competitive mode and avoid the skill itself by seeing the animation being casted. No, the skills themselves in the other form of the weapon put a 3-second reveal on you. And even those who doesn't, like the Untamed Ambush, will actually do a delayed hit with poison that will reveal you. Arianet fixed it by giving us the effect Hunter's Prowess so we can still access those skills even while we are revealed. Especially the Ranger by design have a lot of ticking hits. Like if you play Druid, everything in Druid is just something that keep bullsing hits, Black Hole Effect, Entangle, stuff like that. And even the traps play stuff, a lot of things that actually delayed, so you would lose access to these weapons whatsoever. So they did this through Hunter Prowess, but any other stealth will work normally. You will not access unless you have stealth on you. So I wish this would actually change. They would remove the reveal and they would remove the delayed poison from the Untamed Ambush skill, but they kept it. And they just fixed it by giving us Hunter Prowess, which makes this weapon is very horrible for defensive reasons. So if you use stealth like that and you're trying to kite other players and run from them, the first thing that come to mind is use a mobility, especially that's a dodge, so it will get you out of an AoE if people were already trying to CC you or burst you. So you do that and simply move, but now you're revealed. In a 600 radius, anyone can hit you. You lost the stealth, and even other stealth cannot be applied for 3 seconds. So you revealed yourself and even prevented yourself from stealthing back to back. So you will find a lot of pro players that if they really want to use this weapon in like roaming or something like that, they would stealth and move to another weapon that actually can move them, like Great Sword 3 or something like that. So it's a lot of waste of cooldowns that you just need to switch weapon to kite and not even focus on your damage at this point. Now another problem that persisted with the weapon is the fact that while you losing the effect of the stealth or entering, or like when the weapon skills change, they do not enter a queue state. So let's look at it from this perspective. I will press this skill once I lose the effect, and as you can see, when the weapon starts changing, my skill cancelled because now the skill is gone. So if you're not very accurate or very fast while casting those skills, if you had to time it or wait for a player to block, something like that, you would have this moment of failing to cast your skills because of it. This, I would guess, Arianet put it to like protect against the loss of skill or using it in the wrong form, but it is still very annoying. You can get used to it, but I don't like it. And with the same note, the delay of casting skills that doesn't do anything just to access another. Also something I don't simply enjoy, even so it's a normal mechanic to have in a weapon, but I don't myself enjoy in playing a weapon like this. Now, with general understanding of some of the problem on this weapon, now let's talk about different roles. For PvE, this is arguably a bad choice in general. Why? Because it have arguably the lowest DPS possible. It's tiny little bit lower than my current setup with the maces, and even if you remove the axe warhorn, it is a thing that like just fall apart. If you play especially bar untamed, axe unleash ambush skill go every way. Like it will find targets behind you, around you, and it will do some decent damage. It's great cleave, great control if the mobs you're hitting separated or in a longer distance. And it's one of the main ways we can stack might through the auto attack itself, and we already combine that with warhorn, so we have a lot of bones, a lot of CC, even conditions themselves through chill, weakness, daze, another form of weakness, a lot of vulnerability. So this setup is the strongest especially with Untamed, so you can't really let go of them. Even so, I tested against every setup. I tested against sword, axe, great sword, hammer, maces. The closest thing it came to is the maces, but still lower, and everything is technically surpassed it. Like hammer, also a bit closer in my setup, and that's only when I tested with something, because I only use my build. I tested with Zakros relic. Even so, that's not the one I use. That's lower my damage. When I used my normal relic, which is Norse, it's actually given more damage on something like the mace, so the difference became a little bit bigger, because you can use the time when you grow larger to do, or to time it better on something like the mace. And arguably in PvE, even Greatsword was almost 1k above this. I'm talking about my build and my test. Normal hitbox, me like that, going in, hitting it. No bones, nothing. It's like I walk in PvE solo normally myself. It's look 1k above it, and Greatsword have better mobility, greater defense with access to block, and still have a dodge. Very calming rotation. It just couple of hits and there's no complications, there's no hit that and then that, there's nothing real older. It's just something every ranger used to, and some decent CC anyway. So even if you compare them and say this one better CC, if you use this skill first, stuff like that, still you have better damage here. So, and you still have access to CC through other skills, your bit choice, many other things. And I had 1k extra DPS with this build. I wasn't even running this trait that will increase the damage 10% for Great Sword and lower the cooldown of the skills, while it doesn't do the same for my spear. It do it for sword and underwater spear only. So even if you change the build to access more damage, the difference will even be significant. There's no reason to complicate the play with a weapon like that while you have a weapon like that. So that's just it for PvE. It's not good. The damage is a problem. So let's say ArenaNet do the lazy option and just adjust those damage, especially that the numbers for damage are crazy high. It's just like the bar coefficient are low or something, like 3k.7 and hit like for 10 or something. This is, the number is so much bigger than Great Sword, and yet I had lower damage, you know. So let's say ArenaNet increase the DPS. Obviously, PvE player always chase DPS, and maybe I will take it anyway. But for me, I don't like the weapon. The complication of hitting the skill to stealth and then accessing the skill, wait for the skill to use it, is not worth it. Besides, the weapon lacks the defensive style that something like the mace offer. Untamed, Bar Untamed is probably in open world PvE the best ranger you can play. It has the best amount of corruption, dealing with condition, projectile without complicating choices. So it is the best to play in open world, to the point that it's not much worth it to play any other ranger. So if you want to play the Bar Untamed, you probably use the best of it. And maces will grant you boons, barrier, condition, removal, stability. It's insane, and will do the same to your bit. So the amount of stacking in boons that it can offer with that grow larger effect and extra heal to the bit, even better CC, it just complete package. It offer everything. It's very good. It even help allies around you in open world. And this ability to like face tank things will offer you more DPS no matter what, because here now you need to dodge, you need to get out of this. You can face tank a lot with this, which mean a lot of or more time when you actually hitting, not avoiding your enemy. So in real scenarios, when you're not simply testing DPS on a golem, even if you offer it more DPS, it's gonna have to be a little bit more than you think to even compete with weapons like that. Obviously, if you find fun in playing it, sure, go ahead, but I don't find any reason to play a weapon like this in PvE whatsoever. Now for competitive modes. For World vs World, this weapon suffers a lot. We already explained the problem with reveal. If you're trying to kite enemies and use something like the movement, it's very short, 600, so it's not worth anything. People will catch you immediately with their own skills. You didn't cut a distance, you didn't cut like anything. You got the dodge, great, but you revealed yourself. So you sacrificed the stealth, you couldn't get out, you revealed yourself, preventing any incoming stealths. Which why I said a lot of people will actually use this stealth, switch to other weapon, something like Great Sword, and start kiting. What if you were already DPSing and you already switched to spear and situation changed? Now you can't do that. And even if you didn't, and now you can leave, You don't access your spear skills, you didn't do damage, you are on another weapon to kite. And this weapon is still part of your damage. You need to get a melee on it. This switch is very, very bad. If you are a solo roamer and you can fight outnumbers most of the time, the defensive side of the spear is bad. So the only way you would find solo roamers use is actually count on other stealth forms to do that, like the Jaguar, normal behavior with the smoke scale. So for example, they use the field from smoke scale, jump in it, and then gain extra stealth once that leave after they change direction or something like that. But even inside stealth, they can't simply stack stealth, as you can see, because the moment they are stealth, they access their skill, so they can't stealth again. If they cast it, they reveal themselves, you would reveal. So they will mix different weapon even inside it. So they will use the smoke scale effect, and then they will use the leap, and then stealth with any other thing like warhorn, greatsword, dagger, sword, anything. Which again, more switch, more cooldowns between weapons that wasn't necessary. And it takes you to the normal behavior. Without spear, you would do the same. You would access this, like the smoke scale stuff, and you would stealth and use another weapon or whatever. Even if you want to stack stealth, then it's the same thing. Let's say there is no loss in the cooldown, because switching weapon, you will already switch weapon, then fine. Both weapons are the same. This didn't offer this much. It is valuable, don't get me wrong, especially if your bit is dead or can't give you the stealth. There's a lot of tricks that we ranger know about. For example, let's say you use a smoke scale and you are on Untamed and you're attacking me on World vs. World. I'm a druid, so I can entangle you in the smoke scale, especially if the smoke scale already used smoke assault, so it will be stuck in place. So I can entangle him, and now he's no next to you. If you cast this, the field will be behind you, and you can't stealth. You would have to turn back, and I can control the fight like that by immobilizing you or whatever. There is also other tricks that the Untamed themselves can do, which is teleporting their bit on you, but if the bit is dead, the Untamed is the most punished. You can't teleport it, you can't access those skills, and now there's not much you can do. Only Soul Beast can have a defense against this, because they merge with the bit, and the moment they unmerge, they cast it right at their feet, and then cast their stealth and move on. But other rangers can't. So, with a problem like this in mind, spear cannot be stopped. You always access the stealth. It's like something like Celestial Avatar, Celestial Shadow. When you enter Celestial Avatar and you simply leave it, it is this powerful, but the weapon lack in other thing. Now, another problem, the weapon itself doesn't have much defense. Besides this stealth that we already explained the problem with it, like many problems, the reveal, everything, you can do things like the Druid. When you cast the Immobilize behind you, you can actually cast this skill behind. You have a tiny bit of movement, weights dodge, still access to daze in a way, so the idea of double catching the enemies Immobilize and daze kinda exists. Even so, you would have to access Hunter's Prowess twice, so it's unpractical. But there's no barrier, there's no block, there is not much anything, which is a melee weapon, and when you lack this defense, you need another weapon to help you, which gets me to the second problem. The optimal form to play it in some place like World vs. World or PvP is to have double melee style. You can't run this weapon, which is technically melee, with another range weapon. Because if you're running something like longbow, this weapon lacks defense. You don't have the block from greatsword, you don't have a huge gap closer, or actually a huge distance travel in order to run anyway. You only count in a small stealth. And if that's countered, it's over. You can't just run around. So you can't actively face your opponent in a small area. No block, no extra dodges, stuff like that. Not much at least. And you can't really run away. Something like greatsword or sword or something. The stealth is still good enough. So you can work around it, but it's not as strong. Which gets me to the next point. The fact that other weapons do it better. If you're familiar with Power Ranger in competitive modes anyway, something like Smoke Scale or the new given Jaguar, or if you play Druid or whatever, will still be there, will still help you. So you can still access your stealth. Something like Greatsword, Sword Warhorn, or whatever choice you run, still do the same, just with a less stealth. So does this weapon work on World vs. World? Yes. But why though? Why would you run it? You could have better defense than other weapon, better mobility. There is different option that can work as the same or better But if you find this thing good enough, I guess you can run it. Now in Zergs also, it doesn't work very well. The dodge, the stealth would help you to, I guess, a little bit run, but stealth is not that much effective against Zergs unless you can really break distance, or you will land with their own hits. Dragon Hunter reveal, Necro, or Scrubber, anything. So you need the distance to limit the people able to actually reveal you. And this weapon doesn't cut much distance. And this skill is the only one that pierces through unblockable, so it can hit enemies, but it's not that effective. Something like hammer or maces offer better boons, better cover, and something like great sword is even the greatest survivability because of the block itself. So depending on what build you play, I don't think this actually fits in Zergs this well. It's not great. So this is how the spear work in World vs. World. Now the best place for the spear is actually PvP. Because in PvP, having double melee setup, if you're running something like Great Sword and Spear, Sword Warhorn, Dagger Warhorn, any form of that, even maces, stuff like that, will work well. Because the map itself is small. You don't need to kite this much. Usually you fight 1v1 or 1v2 at most, and you can't hold much more than this because PvP have no real tanking or bunker style, at least for Ranger for now. The idea is you don't fight multiple people or kite from Zergs. There is no guards that do extra damage that you have to deal with them or be revealed by accidental hit or something like that. No. So in PvP, this weapon, I would say, work a little bit decent. It still compared with other weapons that can do different jobs, better jobs, or at least less. So to summarize, the only true advantage that the spear offer is stealth. Now, how would that feel in playing for competitive? Like, then how does the spear feel? Like, what, not just the advantage on paper, like it offers stealth. How would you play in general? What skill would you start with? Something like that. The spear would feel as a complementary weapon. It doesn't work on its own, which is quite the problem. If you use this skill to catch your enemies immobilized and then like hit him with the this from distance, or get near them and using this skill, or teleport on them with other weapon like using dagger teleport for untamed, or sword to engage immediately, or catch them with another CC from the bit, something like that. This weapon have few hits for damage and simply you move to the other one, or how you catch someone and then move to the other weapon. So like we said, it doesn't work on its own. For example, if you're playing Soul Beast with Longbow Greatsword, like the second Soul Beast, you use the Longbow to simply start bursting your enemy down, and immediately, while merging with your Smoke Scale, use Smoke Assault for the Soul Beast, and then follow with other hits, go to Greatsword, do the stun from the back, and go with Maul, stuff like that. So, the Greatsword itself complemented this weapon. But the weapon itself was insane damage. You can kill someone with the Longbow alone. It was already effective. Now, if you take this weapon with something like Longbow, if you do the opposite, this weapon can catch people, can do some decent damage, but if the enemy is not glassy enough to die for this damage, there is not much lockdown. Immobilize alone can be removed with Condition Cleanse. Daze alone can be dodged through, and it's very hard to access both of them, because once you access another, you have to stealth again or cast the skill again and then use Immobilize. So it doesn't have a way to truly lock the enemy, comparing to some other weapons have. Hammer itself can do the Immobilize and Daze back to back, have even a knockdown. Greatsword have a stun. Some other weapons don't rely that much on CC, like Dagger for Untamed. It's very good, a lot of people would use it because it's teleport, but that's the idea. You easier land the skill through the teleport itself. So the weapon doesn't feel this effective. It has the damage, but if you can't deal with the damage, it doesn't have a lockdown, it doesn't have good survivability, it only have like the stealth working for it. So you will face a situation when you are not the oppressor, when you're not aggressing towards the enemy, you are doomed. You either stealthing and running away, or there's not much you can do. If you already burned some of your skills, you can get locked down very easily. There is obviously some quite good like setups in PvE that offer some form of spike in damage, like combo it with Storm Spirit for Untamed, and from stealth you can hit with the Falcon Swoop and immediately follow with another hit that's hard to mitigate, is something like the Unleash Ambush. So there is this form of a spike that you can actually almost one-shot people with. But other weapons can do that also. Something like Maul, skill 5 in Greatsword, Maul again, it's almost the same. And Storm Spirit is nothing to do with the spear itself, so the same idea is usable for other builds. And the only advantage here is rank Falcon or this skill, and that it is unblockable, so it will pass through enemies' defenses. But besides those tricks, besides the unique things that we already discussed about Spear, I don't think it have enough to be enjoyable, I would say, at least. So I do not like this weapon very much, and I don't think I'll be playing it. It probably killed my desire even to think about crafting the upcoming Legendary Spear. So that is my review to this weapon. What do you think about it? If you agree with me, how do you think Arenit can or will they fix it? I don't think they will. It's already out of the beta, and I have problems with the design of the weapon. It's not just the number and how it works in general, so I don't see it changing in any way. I think it was quite the problematic choice. We have so many power weapons for Ranger while we lack in condition, so they should have directed their attention toward a condition weapon, not a combative style weapon that doesn't even work for PvE. We had sword, we had hammer, axe itself work for condition, for power, even dagger work for power. They are hybrid weapon, both of them. Greatsword, maces, arguably you can say staff. And we only have hybrid weapon for condition, axe and dagger, and only range weapon now, like short bow. We had nothing for condition. They should have went with condition style, but they made quite the same mistake that happened with the hammer before they adjusted damage, their bones, stuff like that. They made a lot of work around to make it quite good for PvE, which it didn't start with, but I don't see much of a change that could fix this. I hope I will be wrong. We will know in the future. That's it for the video, and I'll be seeing you next time. Peace.